Have you ever felt burnt out and unmotivated to do the work or the task in front of you today? Have there been days when you know you should take a break from work, hanging out with people or partying, but yet you dismiss it and you keep on going? Have there been moments when you told yourself, I need to take some me time, but you never find a time to make that happen? Today I want to talk about the importance of taking breaks and how they are crucial to our well-being. Although we may feel like we're taking 2 steps back by slowing down, in actuality, when we rest, reset, and recharge, we come back refreshed and are able to make massive leaps forward. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bob Bay. Each week on these solo podcasts, I try to share some insight on topics to help you become the best version of yourself. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. This is just my beard of wisdom that I hope brings value to you. If you enjoy this episode at any moment in time, please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you are listening in on. Post it to your IG story. Tag me at Bob-A. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and Y. Share out the podcast on your IG story and let me know what the biggest takeaway was, what the learning was, what bearded wisdom did I sprinkle that you resonated with. Please let me know. Helps grow awareness to the show and is very, very much appreciated for those out there sharing it out every week. So thank you so much. So, little announcement as we get into today's podcast. I have jump-started the Bearded Wisdom newsletter. So if you were paying attention about a year ago, last July, when I was kind of just getting full throttle with this podcast, I started a newsletter that, long story short, lasted about 6 weeks, and then I tossed in the towel. But now I'm back, and I'm more ready than ever, and I want to do this on a weekly basis. So if you'd like to receive weekly wisdom in your inbox every Tuesday, sign up today on itsthebeardedman.com, right? We're going to be discussing everything from productivity to motivation, stories of what's happening in my life behind the scenes. We'll shed some tears, we'll laugh, and we'll probably cover literally every human emotion possible. So if that's of interest to you and you would like weekly wisdom directly delivered to your inbox every Tuesday, head to itsthebeardedman.com and sign up today. Scroll down on the bottom of my website, you'll see it. And you can put in your name, last name, and your email address. Once again, it's thebeardedman.com. You won't regret it. I'm very, very excited to get this baby rolling. Every Tuesday, Bearded Wisdom newsletter directly to your inbox from The Bearded Man. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm excited to kind of get that rolling in the coming weeks. So breaks are crucial. 2 weeks ago, I decided to take a wellness weekend for myself. The previous 7 to 8 weeks have been literally full throttle, right? The world's been opening up again. Events and parties are popping up left and right. And your boy was going to everything he got invited to. There was no question of if I was going to go. It was just a matter of when and who am I going with. So if you're a longtime listener of this podcast, you would know that it wasn't long ago that I actually had completed 75 days of no booze back in the fall of 2020. And after that, I continued to go long periods of time without drinking, weeks. And then I would kind of break that little streak, and then I'd go back on it again and be off of it for a couple weeks. Once I moved to Venice, and I was around it more often, it kind of became pretty hard to resist, right? I've always been really good at staying disciplined during the week and leaving the fun for the weekend. So one night of drinking on the weekend turned into the whole weekend, and then the weekend turned into every weekend after that, right? I'm very aware that there's something deep down inside me, and I think it actually runs in my family, that once we start drinking, we just don't stop. It just keeps going. It's like undoing the faucet. The water's just going to keep coming. The pot is going to keep getting stirred. There's no stopping once it gets going. So I'm either all in or I'm all out. And usually 10 out of 10 times, it bites me in the ass. Every time. No regrets. It just does. And I have nobody to blame here other than myself. And allowing it to get to that point but it's something that I'm very aware of, and I've always tried to do a better job of owning it and controlling it. And the first step to making change is just being self-aware and confronting the truth. Running away and pushing something to the side hurts us in the long term because we eventually need to confront the reality head to head. Having some personal realizations about decisions I was making in the last 2 months, the way my mind and my body were feeling come Monday morning, and just needing a rest, I should say. And then more specifically, a recent podcast that I recorded with a great gal named Tracy Comlos. It'll be coming out sometime in early August. We talked about how she had actually gone, at this moment in time, still 4+ years without booze, which to me was unbelievable. And so through this conversation, through just my body needing it, I decided enough is enough. I need a break. And so I went the whole weekend without any booze and still had the time of my life. We went on this event called Dreamboat, which was this massive dance party on a boat in the middle of Marina Del Rey here in LA. Danced for like 3 or 4 hours straight, and I loved every second of it. And the wellness weekend inspired me to be much, much, much more conscious and aware of how many drinks I may have in a night. And it's something I want any of you guys and gals to hold me accountable if you see me out here running around in LA. I love to have a good time. And I know that I don't need booze to make something enjoyable. It may be great in the moment, but we all know that feeling the next day, feeling like trash and digging ourselves out of the trench. It's no bueno. It's not fun, but it's what I like to call when you play with fire, you get burned. And so breaks are crucial for our well-being, and we should take them unapologetically when we need them the most. This doesn't have to just be for booze or partying. Like in my example, this can be from work, relationships, friendships, whatever it might be that you need a break from. When we give ourselves space from something, it allows us to recharge and come back refreshed and seeing things from a different perspective, right? It allows us to confront the truth instead of keeping busy to keep something off of our mind. It allows us to make pivots and changes to the path that we're headed on. And if we're not happy with where we're going, these moments of breaks and stillness is what allows us to pivot. So like a car, right? At some point, you need to let off the gas, pull into the gas station, fuel that baby up, and it's not going to continue to move forward down the highway forever. It eventually will run out of gas. We are a car, and we need the rest when necessary. Everyone is different, and we're all going through different seasons of our life, so it's case-by-case scenario of what we need breaks from. 2 years ago, I stepped away from podcasting because I needed a break. Last weekend, I was focused on easing back on the partying with booze because I needed a break. 2 completely different situations, all dependent of where I am in my life today. 6 months, a year from now, I'll probably need a break from something completely different. What we have to remember is that we don't need anyone's permission to grant us a break. Let me say that one more time. We don't need anybody's permission to grant us the break. It is totally on us, and it's our responsibility to do so when we feel we need it the most. Be unapologetic about taking the break when you need it. Ignore what anyone else has to say, or if they try to convince you otherwise. If deep down inside you know you need it, then do it. Stick to it, and you will be glad you did in time. There's 2 major benefits that I have found from taking breaks. Number 1, space allows for reflection. As I was saying before, I had been on a hot streak of 7 to 8 weekends of full throttle partying and having the time of my life. I was saying yes to anything that sounded fun. And most of these weekends, we'd be out till early morning, sometimes even seeing the sunrise. And that's when you know it's time to go to bed. But let me make 2 things clear. First off, I have 0 regrets, and I wouldn't change a thing. And secondly, I made the decision and choice to continue consuming the booze. Having stepped away from it for 1 full weekend, it was like a switch of my mind of, oh, I forgot how good it feels not to be hungover the next day. My mood levels stayed the same throughout the weekend instead of high highs or low lows. I utilized every minute of the weekend instead of laying around hungover for a few hours trying to regain my energy. And it's reminders like these that have shown me the true effects of partying like the way I was. And the only way I was able to reflect on it was because I had created the space to do so. I had given myself a full weekend to remind myself that I could live without touching a drink. Creating space may seem difficult, but in reality, all it takes is one decision. Step one is recognizing that maybe we need to put the pen down, or shut the laptop, or stop texting someone back, or put the beer down. Step two is committing to stepping away for a bit and staying disciplined to that decision. There's no excuses. What I've also found to be really important when creating space and taking a break is not to think about the big picture. So when I was in the process of tackling 75 days of no booze, I wasn't thinking about all the days ahead of me that I wouldn't be able to enjoy a drink. All I did was my best to just focus on the day ahead of me, and that's it, right? I'll worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes, and I'll worry about the day after that when the day after that comes. It can be really difficult to not only create the space, but then staying disciplined to it. We may feel like we're missing out or we're falling behind because of it, but we have to trust that that space is positively going to help us. Even if people are chirping at us to get back on the wagon of doing whatever it is that you're taking that space from, stay true to you. Don't waste your time or your energy trying to convince people that disagree. Just ignore what they have to say and keep moving forward. So the first benefit of taking breaks, it creates space and it allows us to reflect. By doing so, we can assess if we are headed down the right path or maybe if we should change things up a bit. Second benefit, regain momentum and inspiration. You ever watched the Kentucky Derby or any horse race before? I'm not a big horse race type of guy, okay? But I think this is a great example of how breaks help us regain momentum. So when those horses are lined up at the gate, they're just waiting for those doors to swing open, and then boom, they are off to the races. I weirdly feel that way when it comes to taking breaks and letting ourselves reset. Now, my example of stepping away from the booze for the wellness weekend, that doesn't really fit this benefit because I'm not going to step away from it, wait for the gates to open, line up 6 shots of Casamigos, and see on the moon. No. That's what I like to call 2 steps forward, now 8 steps backwards. A better example is how I've tried my best these past couple months to do 0 work on the weekend. Why do I do that? Because it gives me space from doing these podcasts and it allows me to step away and reset. By me doing that, come Monday morning, I am fired up, inspired, and ready to record these solo pods for the coming week. I've locked myself behind the gate all weekend, not allowing myself to move forward so that by the time the gate opens, your boy is ready to go. When we step away and we take the necessary break, we are usually able to regain momentum and inspiration at the same time. Now, I can only speak from personal experience, but this has been a game changer for me. I used to think that I needed to make every minute of every day count, otherwise I wasn't making progress. In reality, I was pushing myself beyond what balance should be for me, and I could see and feel it in the work. Now that I've dialed in on when to take the breaks, I feel so much more excited for the work. But on top of that, what used to take me 3 hours now takes me an hour. I'm more productive and efficient because my focus goes all in when it's time to work. And that's only because I'm genuinely excited to get back to the work because of the space, because of taking a break. I don't care what's happening on Instagram, the texts that might be buzzing on my phone, that can all wait. It can wait. It can wait for a response. It's time for me to do the thing that I really want to do, and there's nothing that will distract me or get in the way of doing it. Take the break when you need it because it'll resharpen your tool belt and it'll help you be more excited to dive into the work when you are ready to jump back in. If we never allow ourselves to rest and reset, it might be hard to create momentum out of thin air or to find that inspiration because we are so busy doing. So the second benefit of taking breaks, it allows us to regain momentum and inspiration. By the time we are ready to jump back in, we are off to the races and ready to go. To recap, taking breaks may feel unproductive, as if we are taking 2 steps behind, but in reality, we are not. When we take breaks, it allows us to reset, rest, and recharge, which is crucial to our well-being and our productivity. By taking breaks, we can course correct, and if we don't like the direction we are headed, this is the time to pivot and make changes. 2 major benefits of taking breaks. Number 1, space allows for reflection. By doing so, we can assess if we are headed down the right path or if maybe we should switch things up a bit. Number 2, regain momentum and inspiration. By the time we are ready to jump back in, we are off to the races and ready to go because we are re-energized and excited to get back to it. Challenge for the listeners. Ask yourself today, do you give yourself permission to take breaks when necessary? If no, consider how doing so might actually benefit you in the ways that we discussed today. Whether it's providing space for reflection or allowing us to regain momentum and inspiration, I guarantee that stepping away can only help you in the long term. Take time today to see how that might be possible within your own life. Questions from the BMC. That is the Bearded Man community. If you're listening for the first time, welcome to the community. You're now part of it. Costs you $0. It's literally all are welcome. So by you listening to this podcast right now, you are now an official member of the BMC, the Bearded Man community. Emily asks, does waking up early, as in 6 a.m. versus sleeping later, like 9 a.m., impact well-being? Here's my thing about sleep and what time you wake up. It's all relative, right? There are people that go to bed at midnight and they wake up at 8 a.m. And there are people who, like me, who go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. Both people are still getting 8 hours of sleep, which I would say is pretty solid, and it's probably, for most people, probably a good amount of sleep if they can get it. Now, I talked about the importance of prioritizing sleep a couple weeks ago on episode 101, but in short, I think sleep is crucial to our well-being. What time you wake up or should wake up is really just dependent on when you go to sleep. So I don't think I'm any better because I wake up at 5 a.m. It does not matter. It's all relative. The reason I get up early is because it's quiet, it's stillness. Nobody's texting me, nobody's calling me, nobody's emailing me. Those first 4 hours of my day up until 9 a.m. is just me time. It's running, it's meditating, it's journaling, it's creative projects. It's all about going internal on me. I don't think I'm any better because I'm getting up at 5 a.m. It's just the time of day that I find works best for me. So my challenge for you, Emily, would be that no matter what time you go to sleep, try to just make sure you get that 7, 8, or 9 hours of sleep that makes you feel your best. Now, everyone's different. You might like a little bit less sleep. Maybe you want more sleep. Once again, it doesn't matter what time you wake up. It's just more about what time do you go to bed and how many hours of sleep do you need? And then whatever that looks like, that's the time you should probably get up. So I think at a high level, sleep is very important to well-being. Hagen jumped in and said, active rest is greater than static rest. From a psychological standpoint, you want to get the blood moving. I completely agree. Even on the days that I don't get an intense workout, I still try to get some active movement going, whether that's just for a walk or a hike. And the days that I'm not creating or podcasting, I'm still learning and consuming content that is teaching me in some way. So I completely agree with that. He also added rest with intent versus couch surfing. Couch surfing on phone isn't great compared to others. Love that as well. I think when you're trying to get any rest, disconnect from the world, and you need a little bit of stillness. So stop answering texts, phone calls, scroll on social, and truly do things with intent, such as read a book watch a podcast, watch a film, and actually watch it without actually getting distracted. I think the takeaway from both points is that be aware when you are resting and be aware of what you're actually doing while you rest. So that's great from Hagen. Last one's coming in from my man, Jordan Tarver. Take breaks to self-reflect. So I'm talking about my man Jordan nailed it on the head, as this was the first major takeaway that I have obviously discussed today in needing breaks. So, of course, two bearded brothers think alike. So glad to see my friend definitely has seen the benefit of taking breaks. And really that downtime is to self-reflect. Really is a game changer. And it can really be the light bulb moment for any of us to make a change in any area of our life. We do not have any new pod reviews of the week. If you want to be the pod review of next week, please head to the iTunes podcast app. Leave a one-sentence, one-word review of what you're thinking of the podcast, and it would be greatly appreciated. I think we're at 68 reviews right now, trying to keep that thing going higher and higher. And if anyone has time today, please leave a review. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. So I didn't intentionally plan this. It just happened to be great timing because I had come off the wellness weekend and I wrote the script for this podcast and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great solo pod for next week. And then boom, here we are recording it. Well, good news, ladies and gentlemen, is your boy, when this drops on a Thursday, is actually flying out on a red eye back to the East Coast. I'm going back to the East Coast. Let's go. And with that being said, once again, unintentional, there actually will be no podcast for next week. We will resume the podcast back on July 19th with some high quality content as always. This just so happens to be, the first time I'm going home since the holidays. And I want to just make sure I'm present, I'm there, and I'm not thinking about dropping this heater content and, delivering social assets. I just want to be able to embrace the 9 days that I'm home with family and really soak it all in and try not to get distracted and take a break, because we've been consistently dropping 2 pods a week since the top of the new year. We did a 2-week break around Christmas and holidays for this same reason. So I feel like this is a good time to step away, go have some fun with the fam, and then get right back to it. So there will be no podcast next week, but we will be back July 19th with some high quality content. So things happen for a weird reason. The fact that I was recording a podcast on breaks, easy segue into me going into a break. So I hope you guys and gals take next week with no Bearded Man content and you just crush it with some of those other great podcast content out there. That is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I guess the last 2 things I would say would be, once again, if you want to sign up for the Bearded Wisdom newsletter dropping every Tuesday, go to itsthebeardedman.com and sign up today. And secondly, if you'd like to take a 4-question survey on the podcast, scroll to the show notes of this podcast episode, and you will see Bearded Man survey. Put together 4 simple, short questions to get some feedback from all of you beautiful ladies and gentlemen. It won't ask for your name, so please be honest. And I am looking through every response and taking note of how to improve the show. So if you'd like to leave some feedback, please do so today. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. That is it for today's episode. Episode 107, breaks are crucial. Rest, reset, and recharge. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you were listening in on right now. Post it to your IG story. Tag your boy at Bob A. That's B-O. 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share out the podcast on your IG story and let me know what the biggest takeaway was, what the biggest learning was. It is so much appreciated, and it truly, truly, truly does add to the growth and momentum of this podcast project. So thank you to those that do so on a weekly basis. I love you. I see you, and keep sharing it out. That's it. It's the Bearded Man Podcast. We'll see you in a week. See ya.